in my own hometown. Stranger.
Howdy folks, Little John here. In the brewery today, I'm looking at a passionfruit Cerveza. Yes, the much talked about, one might say famous passionfruit Cerveza. I've previously done this beer. It comes from a kit base. Today I'll be doing Brew In A Bag, All Grain. One, to see how it goes. Two, it's a little bit of a demonstration video for the Brew In A Bag, which I haven't done. I'd Brew In A Bag there for a while. When I first went into All Grain, I'd done a bit of a Brew In A Bag. So this is sort of going back to that old way. I'm doing it a little bit different these days. I used to do it in a bucket. Now I've got a nice big pot. So that's what I'm doing. So basically, we're doing that today. So it's going to be 4 kilos of Pilsner malt, just using Joe White, keep it nice and cheap, and it's not a kilo, 900 grams of polenta. I couldn't get any flake corn locally. I'm not going to muck around and wait for an order to come in, so I've gone for the polenta. I've used it before in Cerveza, it does the job. So I'll be boiling that up on the stove. I'm going to boil the 900 grams with 5 litres of water. I'm going to boil that for about 25-30 minutes just to really get it into a big mush, and I'll add that to the mash as we go, and you'll see that when it happens. So 4 kilos Pilsner and the polenta, and that's it. That's all our additions. Simple. I'm going to do a couple of steps through the mash on the Brew In A Bag. Be starting at around 54 degrees. Just to do a nice protein rest on the Pilsner malt. Then we'll step up through 62 for a good rest, a little bit at 68, then step to 72 to finish off, and maybe even sneak up to 75 just to finish the process. Okay, so got the setup here starting off. So what I'm looking at, 50 litre pot. This is my kettle. This is normally part of my freebie system. This is what I'll be doing today. So I've got it hooked up with a 3-ring burner underneath it, and she's firing away. She's coming up to our first step. As I said, I'm looking for 54 protein rest, so I'll get this to about 57, 58, and then I'll dump the grain in. It's not quite there, we're sitting on about 40 degrees, so it's got a little bit to wait for that to come up. So I'll get the grains and things ready, we'll have a look at it when we get it going. Okay, so up to 58 degrees. That's happily where I want to be. So I'll turn the heat off, pop my bag in. Now, you can use clips and things to attach your bag to the side of the pot. It just depends on how your setup is. If you're using a false bottom or a container on the bottom to keep the bag off the base, you don't need to worry about it too much. I'm not going to leave the bag there when I'm putting heat on it today. I'll lift it up and I'll show you what I do. I don't have a false bottom that will fit properly. I've got a pickup tube in this pot, so it makes it a bit hard to get one in there as it is. So we're in with the grain. As I said, 4 kilos of Pilsner, just straight in. Alright, so it's in. And you just want to give that a good stir. Now this is where your clips come in handy, stops your bag from falling in, but I'll just hold on to it. I can't find my clips. I might have a bit of a look while this is going on. Alright, so as I said, I've got 25 litres in here. Total volume on this batch in the kettle will be 35 litres. 35.4 I think was the calculation. I've got 25 in here. I'm using 5 litres for my polenta. Now, as I said, that's only for this batch. Normally you're not going to use that, so you'd normally have your 30 litres straight in here. Then I'll keep that 5.5 litres for the end, and I'll rinse the grain through of that. We're not doing a sparge as such. This is close enough to full volume mashing. It's just going to be to rinse the last of the sugars out at the end, and you'll see how that process happens. So at the moment I've got this in here. So we can assume under normal process that we've got about 30 litres in. You can go 32. You only need a few litres to rinse out your grain at the end. You don't need to have 5. Yeah, even just one jug of boiled water will do the job. This is just the numbers I've come up with today, just to make it easy. So we'll pop the lid on there. We've got, well, we've only come back to 56 degrees, but that's okay. That's not too much of an issue. It's close enough. Now, again, you're normally doing a bag, you're normally going to do a single step infusion. Sorry, just a single step mash. Yeah, well, you might mash at 65, 66 degrees. Fairly neutral. And maybe just that one temperature rise up to mash out, you know, somewhere around 72, 75. It's going to depend on exactly what you're after, but for simplicity, 65 degrees is a good spot. Get your water 68, put your grain in, let it settle at 65, and let that sit for, you know, an hour, and then you can bring it up. So at the moment, I'm going to let this go for 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll raise the temperature up to our first mash step and show you how that happens. Okay, so that's our 10 minutes on our protein rest. So what we're going to do now is bring up to 62 for the mash. As I said again, this is not necessarily a step you need to be following, but this is just the process I'm using today. So, as I said, I've got no false bottom on here, so I won't want the grain sitting on the bottom of this pot while I put the heat under it. So what I use, just a rack out of the old fridge, lift the bag out. And I'll just let that sit on there while I bring this back up to heat. Now, just fire the burners back up. Now, this is not your ideal method. It's just the process I need to follow today. As I said, if you've got that piece in the bottom, yeah, it can be a wire cake rack, an upside down stainless steel colander. Now, just something that's not going to melt on the bottom, like I said, or even an actual false bottom in there, so you can keep that grain bed off the actual heat at the bottom. Because these bags, they'll melt, and you can burn your grain as well, which you certainly don't want to do. So, for me today, this is my best option. So I'll bring this to 62, and we'll drop the bag back in, give it a bit of a mix. I've got my polenta sitting there, which is now cooked up. I will drop that in at the same time, and again, that is a step only for what I'm doing today. It's not something you're going to normally do. It's an addition particularly for the cerveza, for that Mexican style. It helps make the beer just a little bit lighter. It adds fermentables without any body. Keeps the body down. So normally you just have your grain sitting in there without any problem. So we'll give that a bit, let it come up to temp, and then we'll pop it back in. Okay, so while that's coming up to temp, we'll just have a bit of a chat with the other things that I'm doing while this is happening. Again, this won't necessarily be for every brew, but today I'm using a White Labs liquid yeast. It's Mexican lager yeast. Surprisingly, yeah, let's use a Mexican lager yeast on a Mexican lager. This yeast is it's getting on, it's a couple of months old now, so it's not at its best. And even if it was, there's not enough cells in here to do a lager at lager temperatures, which is what I'll be brewing this beer at, or fermenting. So I need to do a starter. So at the moment I've got about 1.5 litres of malted water. It's come to the boil and it's just sitting in a flask cooling down. Surely that'll be at room temp, and I'll pitch this yeast onto it and I'll get that on the stir plate for the day and let that just fire up until I'm ready to pitch tonight, and I'll pitch that directly later on. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. That's a different process. Normally you're going to use just dry yeast and just pitch in or do a rehydration. Okay. Now this brew may end up with a little bit of dextrose in it. Will depend on how the gravity comes up later. I don't really want to make this a real strong beer. Okay. And what we're also going to be doing later with the boil, with our hop additions, we'll be doing a bittering hop of Gallina, which is traditional hop that's used in, supposedly used in Corona, so it's authentic and to the style. And for the passion fruit side of the Cerveza, I'll be using some Australian Galaxy quite late in the boil. I'll probably drop about, I'm not sure, I'd have to check my figures, but I'm looking to do about 17 IBUs up front with the Gallina, with the bittering, and then do about 4 IBUs about 10 minutes from the end of the boil. So I'm not sure off the top of my head what that is. We'll talk about that later when it comes to it. And then we'll do a dry hop with the Galaxy as well while it's fermenting. So we're going to check how we're going. We must be getting close to temp. That's just a wrap up on what's happening, and we'll keep moving. Okay, so temp's up, and we're actually a bit higher than what I wanted. Got caught up raving on. That'll happen. Okay, so I'm not too fussed. We're at sitting on about 66. So I'm going to drop this grain back in. I don't want it sitting around here for too long out of the kettle. So we'll drop it in. We'll just adjust our time, our temperatures a little bit. It's not a biggie. Put that in. Bag back around. A bit of a stir. Now, whenever you're raising the temp, always give it a stir. Now, this is my polenta. I'll put in now. So it's had a bit of a boil up, and it turns into a nice bloody sludgy mess. But what this does is once you put it into the brew, especially in those low to mid 60s, it basically turns back into a liquid soupy type thing, and just becomes part of the wort. And again, this is not a normal step. This is only for this Cerveza brew. And ideally I would have done this with flake corn, which would have just gone straight into the mash, but I couldn't get any. So, and with the polenta it is, as you can see, it's fairly gloopy, messy stuff. I don't really like mucking around with it for that reason, but so we'll give that a stir in. Then a good mix, get that bloody, all that thick gluggy polenta all mixed in and part of the wort. And I can see now as I'm mixing it's getting smaller and smaller, the clumps are disappearing. Oh, losing the bag. Again, as I said, that's where the couple of bulldog clips come in really handy. Righto. That's good. I'm happy with that for now. So, lid back on. We're at, still sitting 66. So that's alright. I'm going to let that sit now for 40 minutes. So quick adjustment on the fly. So we'll come back in 40 minutes and we'll bring this up to 72. We're missing our 62 and 68 steps. with a mid-range. As I said, this is more the target temperature you're looking for with your Brew In A Bag, 65, 66 degrees. It's a nice mix, gives you good fermentability and gives you some body in the beer. So it works really good, particularly with ales. I've done that 54 step, so it's going to help to keep the body down a little bit with the lager, but I'm not too fast. I can water it back a little bit if I need to keep it light. So we'll let that go and we'll come back. Okay, so I've just pulled out after our first rest. I'm raising the temperature now. Now that dropped from 66 to 61 degrees in 40 minutes. Now again, depending on what your setup is, there's different ways of counteracting that temperature loss, because ideally you want to keep that at a fairly close to that as you can, where you start from. So if you don't have the false bottom or something that will keep the bag off, where you can keep applying a little bit of heat to keep your temperature there. I mean, look, with this free burner, I think just on the single inner ring would probably hold temperature fairly steady without a problem. But if you haven't got that luxury, if you can't keep the temperature there, wrap this thing up. Wrap your kettle up in some, in a blanket, in some quilts. I've got an old quilt that I've always had out here in the brewery, and I just used to wrap that around my pot, and that'd help keep your temperature in. Now, for this particular batch, I'm not too worried that dropped down a little bit, because this means I'll spend a little bit of time in that lower 60s where I wanted to anyway. So that's all good. So at the moment, I'm going to bring this up now, because I started at 65. I'm going to miss that 68 rest that I was originally planning on. Just going to take it straight to the 72. I'll give it 10 minutes there, and then bring it up to 75. Well, actually no, I won't bring it to 75, because we'll just use our rinse water at a higher temperature, somewhere around 85, and that'll bring the finish up, and that'll finish off the mash. So just let that go. I'll come back once we're doing the rinse. Gone through our 72 degree rest. Rinse out there for about 15 minutes. Pull the bag so I can start to drain. So what I've got now is I've got 5 litres, 5.5 litres here of 85 degree water, which I'm just going to pour through this bag just to help the rinse the last of the sugars out. Now, to be careful, I don't run too much on the floor. The bag's a little bit bigger than the width of the pot. Now, as I said before, this isn't a necessary step, and for simplicity's sake, doing Brew In A Bag, you can quite easily go for your full batch, so in this case full 35 litres straight in, do your temps, pull the bag and just go straight to a boil. This is it's akin to a bit of a sparge that you do with a freebie. It's just an attempt to get a little bit of extra efficiency. Which is just getting the maximum extract potential out of your grain, and it sometimes can be a reality of the Brew In A Bag process that you can lose a little bit of efficiency due to not having that sparge. But at the end of the day, you calculate all this stuff into your software, into your recipe creation, and it doesn't really matter. You just need to find a method that you're happy with, that works for you, and doesn't give you too much stuff in around come burrito. And there we go, we've got to get on everywhere there. Noel's saying you can't make beer without spilling some water. I always have a good go at spilling water. It doesn't ever bother me. So I'm just going to let that continue to drain on its own free will. And while it's doing that, if I can find the little flamethrower, I'll get this on and we'll start coming up to a boil. Alright, and we'll come back look at some hop additions. We've finished the rinse of the grains. It's coming up to a boil. While I'm waiting for that, I'll get the hops done out. Now, on the boil, 90-minute boil. Normally it's only 60 minutes. If you're doing an ale, you're normally going to go for 60. Because this is all Pilsner malt, I'm going to boil it for 90 just to make sure I've got no issues with DMS. DMS is a flavour, it's a chemical or compound that can be created by the Pilsner malt when you're boiling it, simply for the fact that it's not very, it's not highly heated during the malting process, it being a very light grain. Modern malting processes supposedly have taken DMS out, but I've had brews where we've only boiled for 60 minutes with the Pilsner malt and I've had it. So I'm not taking chances. I'm going to boil for 90 minutes. Now, I've just taken a refractometer measurement on the gravity. It was at 10. That's sitting at 1039, which is exactly where I'm expecting it to be pre-boil. The only difference is I'm 1.5 litres up on volume. I've got 32 litres in the pot. I was expecting 30.5, so I'm 1.5 litres up. But I have only allowed for a 60-minute boil in my calculations, so that's probably going to bring us pretty close, and we'll bump up a little bit. And that was allowing for 200 grams of dextrose, which I haven't put in yet, so we're probably going to be a little bit over where we're aiming. But that's neither here nor there, it's not really relevant. So I'm banging up my hops. I'm measuring them out while I'm coming to boil, so they're ready to go. All I do is just these little Chinese sauce containers. You get them for like $2 for a pack of 6 or something from bloody Woolies. Yeah, and they're really good. I stick a number on them, 1, 2, 3, up to 6. Yeah, so I measure out my hop addition. I can leave them sitting there. I know which one's which, and I can whack that up as I'm going and not have a stuff up. So I just measure out my hops on 23 grams a gallon. Now this gallon's getting a little bit old, so I'm going to go and actually stick 27 in, just to allow for a little bit of deterioration over time, because they do lose their potency as they're stored. Alright, I'm going to set that's in there. So I'll measure up the rest of my hops and we'll pop them into the boil as we go. So, boil's been on for half an hour. So, it's time for our first addition of hops, our bittering addition. That's at 24 grams of gallon. And just put that straight in. I'll just float around in there, no problem. You can throw your hops just straight in loose, but using a hop bag keeps the containers easier at the end. You can pull them all out. You don't have as much in the bottom. It just makes it a little bit easier with getting your wort out at the end of the boil when you want to get into the fermenter. But it's personal preference how you want to do it. If you're not using a lot of hops, sometimes it's just easier to throw them in. If you're using a fair bit, you definitely want a hop stock, or if I'm using a lot, I'll just use my grain bag, put the whole grain bag in, especially like for IPAs and stuff where you might be using 100 or even 200 grams of hops. This batch has only got about 40-45 grams. But that's just, again, that's personal opinion, personal preference, how you like it. But this one, go on the hop stock. Righto, so let that boil and we'll be back towards the end. Righto folks, so we're coming back on 10 minutes left in the boil. She's been boiling for 50 minutes since that last addition. So been going now for 1 hour and 20 minutes to boil itself. down to around 27.5 litres there. Looking for 23 in the fermenter, so we're pretty close to where we want to be. Now, so 10 minutes, I'm popping in first go, so I'm not going to worry about the hot bag, I'm not going to stuff around and try to open it, so they're just going straight in. Righto. That was about 13 grams by memory. You got to watch when you put your hops in, you get a lot of frothing up. You haven't got a lot of room in the kettle that can overflow, but that's been alright. But that's shot a froth up, 3 or 4 inches high. It can catch you by surprise if you're not ready for it, you haven't got the room. But generally, like if you're using a 50 litre pot for a normal sized batch, you've got plenty of space. I'm also popping in now half a wall flop tablet. Okay, and that's going to help get all the proteins and hold them together after we cool the wort. And that normally goes in 10-15 minutes to the end of the boil. Half a tablet's enough for a 23 litre batch. Okay, now what I've also done, 5 minutes ago, 15 minutes to go, got my immersion chiller, which is this fella. It's a whole roll of stainless steel coil. I'll pop that in. So it's sanitising, and the boil is killing any bugs that are attached to that before I use it. So I'll attach the old garden hose to this end. I've got a hose I'll attach to the other end and run it out of the garage, and when we get a flame out, we'll run that through, and that will cool our wort down relatively quickly. It takes about 20 to 25 minutes to get down close to pitching temp, well under 30 anyway, and we'll get down below 72, which is the magic number where hop utilisation pretty much stops. It will get there in about 6 or 7 minutes. And the quicker we stop that, the better chance we've got of locking in the hop flavours that you're after. If you haven't got one of these, then you need to look at doing a bath to put this in, like a laundry tub, or actually in the bath, full of water, and sit it in that to get it to cool it down. That will take longer and it will affect your hops. You need to adjust your hops to that. We're not going into that right now though. I'm going to assume you've got a chiller and you can do it that way. Also got me spoon there, my stirrer spoon. He's there, I have the pot ready to go. So he's going to go in there as soon as we turn the flame off and start cooling. So it'll be sterilised and sanitised as well while I'm cooling. Okay, so we're now onto the cooling process. We've turned the heat off. As you can see now, I've got that spoon in there that was sanitising, and that's so I can give the wort and mix and move it around so it gets more contact with the chiller. You can also move your chiller around if you want to do it that way. So here's a chance to have a quick look at this chiller. So I've just got it connected with some silicone tube. I'll do a bit of garden hose with a normal garden connection. Then that's on the left is my hose coming in from outside, and then the same on the other side. Silicone hose goes down, connects through a normal fitting. Then I just have this one length of hose, about half a length of normal hose, and it runs. I run it outside and it's just running off onto the ground. And that'll run, I said, for about 20 minutes until we cool. Keep giving that bit of a stir. And we have a look there at the temperature. You can see already it's sitting on 70 degrees. This has only been off for a couple of minutes. So already we're below utilisation temperature for the hops. So we're not expecting any additional bitterness at this point, and that's what we want. So now we'll just finish the cooling process off. We'll come back and show you our whirlpool. Okay, so I've removed the chiller. You can see there we're sitting on about 33-34 degrees. I'm happy to stop there. So what I'm going to do now is what's called whirlpooling. All it is just getting Yeah, whirlpool going, like you used to do in the bathtub when you were a kid. Yeah. Get that whirlpool motion going on. I'm not going to go too crazy on it, that'll do me. Alright, and then I'll let that sit for about 20 minutes, and that will allow all the trub and all the proteins, which you can see floating around in there at the moment. It's not clear, and that'll give that time to drop out. You can see them better there. And it'll drop nice and clear, and then we can transfer clear wort into the fermenter. The kettle's been sitting there for a while now. It's had time for that whirlpool to take effect and all the hops and everything and the protein to all drop down to the bottom. And what we look hopefully from that is that it will form like a cone shape in the middle and leave the outside clear, which is where the pickup tube is for the on the tap. So hopefully we're not getting too much of that crud through into the actual fermenter. So we'll start transferring now. A bit of crud there, not too much. Now what I'm looking for now, I want to get a little bit of variation of this as I go. Just got that bouncing off the handle at the back there, just to throw a bit of air in there. That's looking pretty clear once it started running. There's a little bit of goop there to start with, so that's not too bad. So I'm going to grab a quick midstream sample. I'll go to the doctor for the urinary infection. See where we've finished up at. Now we're currently sitting, it's down to 31 degrees. It's about 28 degrees here in the garage, so it's not going to get much below that sitting there. So we'll need to get it in the fridge. That's alright, I've got my yeast going here. Heat on the stir plate. It'll be ready to pitch later tonight. Let's see if we can finish that. A few bubbles there on some, that's pretty much 1044, which is what we're looking for. Pretty much spot on, so that's good. Now it's just going to be a case of what sort of volume we're getting here. Not really getting enough oxygen. We've got enough air in there, so I'll just give it a bit of swap around as we go. You just keep doing that. Get your spoon in there, give it a good whip around. I do have an aquarium pump which I can use. That's not going too bad there, we'll just work on that. We'll go with that. So now I just simply let this all transfer over. Once it's finished, I'll stick this into the fridge. I'll put the lid on. Now normally, once this is full, again, the temperature's too warm. You don't want to be pitching your yeast at 30 degrees. So I'll be putting this into the fridge on the temp controller, which for this batch will be set at 11 degrees with the lager yeast. Obviously, if you're using like if you're doing an ale, pale ale, something like that, you're going to be sitting at anywhere from 15 to 20 degrees, depending on your yeast and what you're after. But you want to get into that fridge and get it cooling. Once it hits that sort of 20 degree mark, you're pretty well safe to pitch your yeast. Now, given that it is quite warm here in the shed, and I'm just running that starter in here, I could just dump it straight on, but I really want to get it off the crud in there. But once you're at temperature, get your yeast in, whether it's sprinkling in, ideally rehydrating your yeast. Check another video out, check the video out on rehydrating yeast if you're not sure how to do it. Get that in there. 2 packets of dry yeast into that, even at 1044. Make sure you've got plenty of yeast to do the job. Yeast is the thing that's going to give you most of your flavours and cause you most of your problems. So spending an extra couple of dollars and getting plenty in there is well worthwhile. And also, less oxygen is important as well. You've got to get plenty of air in there. I'm going to give this a good thrash around. I'm going to go and clean my spoon and give this a good thrash around before I stick it in the fridge. But I'll leave that for now. So that's it. Let that run off. Let it all drain. Get what you can out of your kettle into the fridge. Get yeast on it as soon as you can. Yeah. You don't want your yeast pitching outside a temperature range of about 5 degrees. So if your water's at 26 degrees and your ambient temperature is 18, you've got an 8 degree difference in temperature. That's going to cause issues when you're pitching your yeast. It's going to kill yeast cells, which you don't want to do. So that's the case. Wait till you get down to 22, 23 degrees. Get within that 5 degree difference. Then pitch your yeast, and then let it come down to temperature. There's nothing wrong with pitching a couple of degrees higher, bringing your temperature down. That's not going to hurt. That's not going to hurt. You've got your lag phase there to take up with that anyway, so it's not going to really matter. And it helps the yeast kick along. But you don't want to keep there for too long because you're going to get bad flavours. 4 to 6 hours, no problem. So that's it. That's Brew In A Bag. Start, throw it in the fermenter. Pitch yeast, get it sealed up in the fridge and get it fermenting. It's not hard. It's a longish process start to finish, but you don't need to spend a lot of time on it. It's 10 minutes here, it's 10 minutes there. You can do other stuff in between. It's a great way to get into all grain brewing without spending a lot of money and having a lot of equipment. You don't need mash tuns and liquor tuns and pumps and all the rest of it. One pot, you can get them for as cheap as 50 or 60 bucks off eBay if you want to. I recommend buying a decent quality one. Fork out a couple of $100 and get yourself a good one with a thermometer and whatnot in a good tap. And this is a triple piece trap you can pull apart completely and clean it and put it back together. You can go for a 2-piece, doesn't matter. But anybody can do it. Anyone can get into all grain. You don't need a lot of room. You just need a pot. You can do it on the stove with smaller pots if you want. There are videos about people who do it on the stove. I've done it on the stove myself, using 20 litre pot from Big W. It's a little bit trickier, a little bit fiddlier, but it can be done. Ideally, a single pot does get you an all-round better result. So, just a simple recap. Full volume mash in here, about 35 litres of water for a standard 23 litre brew. Get it to temperature, mid-60s. Get your grain in. Get your temperature held. Keep it there for an hour. Get it out. Rinse your grain off. Bring it to a boil. Boil it. Add your hops. Cool it. Get into your fridge and add some yeast. It's that simple. And 10 to 14 days later, you're bottling. 2 weeks after that, you're drinking. So you're looking about a month from brew day to the time when you can start drinking it. And your beer's carved up. Depending on the style, it will vary how long you actually need to do that for. But that's about the time frame you're generally looking at. So that's it. Brew In A Bag brewing. If that's what you're looking for, this is the way to do it. So, till I see you again, good brewing.